Imagine the flashbulbs popping as Donald Trump strides to the podium, grinning ear to ear, declaring the biggest trade deal in American history. A whopping $550 billion locked in, sealed with handshakes and promises of jobs flooding back home. It's October 2025, and this is supposed to be his crowning glory, proof that his tariff hammer is forcing allies to pour cash straight into US factories and shipyards. But fast forward just weeks, and the whole thing implodes on live TV. Japan's new prime minister rips the deal to shreds, calling it a sovereignty killer, sending the yen into a tailspin and Wall Street into meltdown. If you're hunting for the full scoop on why Japan rejected Trump's $550 billion Asia investment framework, or what Takaichi's defiance means for US dominance in the Pacific, buckle up. This isn't just a trade flop. It's a geopolitical gut punch that could rewrite alliances for a generation. Hit like if Trump's tariff triumphs are starting to look like epic fails. Subscribe for more breakdowns on Trump Asia Tour Controversies 2025, and let's dissect how a victory parade turned into a diplomatic disaster. Let's rewind to that triumphant White House reveal in July 2025. Trump, flanked by auto execs and energy bosses on the lawn, touts the Trump-Japan partnership framework as the mother of all accords. Tariffs on Japanese exports drop from 27.5% to 15%, and in return, Tokyo pledges hundreds of billions for US shipbuilding, LNG terminals, semiconductors, and energy grids. Bloomberg quotes him bragging America pockets 90% of the profits. Optics screaming win, with visions of 700,000 jobs resurrecting Rust Belt towns. But beneath the pomp, whispers from negotiators hinted at trouble, no formal treaty, just a vague political nod ripe for reinterpretation. When a deal's more press release than binding ink, isn't it begging for betrayal? What if those allies you strong-arm start strong-arming back? Could Tokyo's about-face signal the end of Washington's free ride in Asia? The cracks show fast under new PM Shigeru Ishiba, whose approval tanks to 20% as critics brand the Accord capitulation. Hang tight, because his exit unleashes a force that nukes everything. Ishiba's downfall was swift, signed under Trump's tariff threats. The framework sparked fury in Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, with whispers of fiscal surrender echoing from Tokyo boardrooms to backbenches. By September, for the Financial Times, his ratings cratered, and resignation followed like clockwork. Enter Sanai Takaichi, sworn in October 4, 2025, as Japan's first female PM, a conservative firebrand mentored by hawkish icon Shinzo Abe, blending defense zeal against Beijing with ironclad sovereignty guards. Her leadership win. A vow to scrub unfair pacts, turning resistance from liability to launchpad. In her inaugural address, she drops the hammer. Any deal eroding national interest gets the boot. Washington freezes, expecting LDP loyalty, they get a reset. If you're watching US-Japan relations sour under Takaichi's watch, does her Abe-inspired pushback feel like justified pushback, or alliance sabotage? The Wall Street Journal dubs it a conservative reset, but markets smell blood. Yen surges on delay rumors, US defense stocks dip 6%. Takaichi's words chill treasury halls. Lutnick demands fulfillment, but Tokyo's cooking up a workaround that'll make jaws drop. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Trump's trade architect, fires back publicly. The United States expects all partners to fulfill their commitments. Privately, though, panic brews. Reuters leaks Treasury fears Tokyo funnel funds through its own Japan Bank for International Cooperation, dodging US strings. On October 1, chief negotiator Ryo Akazawa goes public, denying Washington gets veto power over projects. Tokyo retains selection via its development bank. Procedural on paper, but a sovereignty thunderclap. Hours later, currency traders pounce, yen strengthening as dollar flows stall. The Financial Times calls it a quiet revolt against coercion, with Nike Asia noting Takaichi's balancing act, beef up US defense ties for security, but claw back trade autonomy. When partnership means one side calls all shots, isn't revolt inevitable? Does Takaichi's dual-track redefine alliance without rupture? With Japan's debt at 260% GDP, could stalling transfers avert a bond market bomb, or just ignite US retaliation? The revolt ripples to Seoul, where South Korea's $350 billion pledge hangs by a thread. Trump's upfront cash demands meet a flat no can do. South Korea's echo is deafening. Their national security advisor tells Reuters, "We are not able to pay $350 billion in cash," torching Trump's all-fronts payment fantasy. Once a tariff relief for investment pact, it's now limbo land, with Seoul eyeing Japan's playbook to reroute via domestic channels. If Asia's powerhouses sink on defiance, doesn't it expose Trump's model as brittle, tariffs as boomerang, not bazooka? Feeling the pinch from delayed investments in US semis or LNG, do you see this as short-term pain for long-term gain, or alliance erosion that'll cost jobs? The pattern's clear. From Seoul to Tokyo, enough rings out, testing if coercion breeds compliance or cunning. Back home, Trump vents in a cabinet meeting, "We made the best deal ever," and Japan's already walking away, but his fix? A new US investment accelerator that'll spark more fury. Trump's frustration boils over on TV, "We made the best deal ever," and Japan's already walking away. It's emblematic of a White House clinging to leverage amid unraveling optics. Enter Lutnick's brainchild, a federal US investment accelerator, to steer allied cash into Alaska energy terminals for independence, Midwest chip fabs for security, consult allies for 45 days, no vote. For Tokyo. Non-starter. Akazawa retorts, contributions fall within no forex impact range. Translation, we'll dribble funds on our timeline, indefinitely. Nomura Securities analysts game it out, legally stretch over a decade, neutering pressure while keeping doors ajar. Lutnick warns consequences, hinting tariff reprisals, but with US lobbies fretting a new Cold War with our best customer, threats ring hollow. When reindustrialize without taxpayers spend crumbles to coercion complaints, isn't the emperor's new clothes showing? Could Japan's 10-year stall tactic inspire a Pacific pact against US overreach, flipping the script on who dictates terms? The flagship $44 billion Alaska LNG terminal. Already sinking in cost overruns and doubt, Japanese utilities whisper stall and exit. The crown jewel, that $44 billion Alaska LNG export terminal, was Trump's tariff trophy, reviving shipyards, securing energy. But Reuters dropped September bombs. Japanese utilities balk at profitability, with XX admitting all the Japanese want is to stall and get out. Construction spirals, demand wanes, Lutnick spins indirect perks like security, but skeptics like CSIS's Christopher Johnson call the framework more official than before, less than a treaty enforceable by politics alone. By October, Japan axes a Washington delegation over tariff order errors, demanding fixes the White House ignores. AP notes it derails Trump's victory lap. When flagship projects flounder on paper promises, doesn't it validate critics who saw coercion as folly? If you're in Alaska eyeing LNG jobs or Tokyo fretting debt, does this limbo favor you, or freeze everyone in frustration? Corporate Japan erupts, with Suntory's Taishin Nin-Ami blasting the pact as a strategic blunder, to the foot, lacking transparency on backed projects or returns. The tariff exemptions look shiny, but hide opacity, no governance, no oversight roadmap for billions pledged. It's discontent brewing in Tokyo's boardrooms, where leaders demand accountability to shield economic interests. When corporate titans cry foul on appealing deals, isn't it a sign the emperor's suit is threadbare? With no clarity on investments, could Japan's business revolt force Taiwan to walk entirely, dooming Trump's reindustrialization dream? The Asahi Shimbun leaks a finance ministry memo warning massive outflows could spike fiscal risks, bond jitters, and investor flight, Japan's 260% debt to GDP teetering on transfers that sound grand but deliver little. Betting on this framework for US revival, do corporate warnings chill your optimism, or fuel calls for renegotiation? As yen wobbles and diplomats huddle, the big pivot hits. Could this spark an Asian century where Washington's commands fade to suggestions? Trump's early 2020s auto tariffs sparked Toshiba's Tokyo won't be taken advantage of defiance, seeding today's storm. Under Taiwan, resistance rallies supporters valuing US ties, but rejecting subordination, per Nike Asia, her equality vision fortifies defense while reclaiming trade turf. If post-war Japan evolves from subordinate to equal, doesn't it mirror a Pacific power shift long overdue? With Indo-Pacific alliances fraying, could Taiwan's model cooperate on security, compete on cash, inspire Seoul and beyond to redraw the map? The Wall Street Journal ponders if China's lone diplomacy outshines Trump's tariff intimidation. Watching US exporters sweat and yen traders feast, do you see this as healthy pushback, or alliance Armageddon? In cabinet debates, Taiwan weighs compliance outrage, renegotiation risks, or eternal delay, each a minefield. As markets hold breath and headlines scream, one truth emerges: the victory parade's now a referendum on dominance. Outcomes won't just tweak trade cycles, they could crown a new Asian era where US word isn't law. If this unraveling of Trump's $550 billion Japan deal saga, from photo op pomp to Takaichi's shredder, left you reeling on US Asia Power Shifts 2025, like the video to spread the word, subscribe for more on tariff fallout and alliance resets, and comment, is this the dawn of an Asian century? Or Trump's temporary tantrum? Your takes fuel the fire, let's discuss.